So it's October 1st. Some of you probably didn't actually know that. And to get into the spirit or celebration of October and the spooky and scary, what I wanted to do is actually make a comprehensive video looking at all the instances of ghosts in Fallout 4, or at least suspected ghosts. Some of these are more explicit and obvious, and some of the other ones you may have not even known about because they're fairly obscure. Some of the mods you're going to see in the background of this video I showed you guys last week, which you can check out in the little card right now, basically making Fallout 4 a little bit spooky and scarier. But without further ado, let's actually jump into the first ghost, that with the Mother of the Fog, otherwise known as the Fog Mother. This of course corresponding to the Children of Adam in Far Harbor. The Children of Adam themselves are super odd and definitely a mysterious bunch. I've actually looked at how they survive their radiation in other videos, and for a lot of the things they do, there isn't concrete explanations. So it seems pretty fitting that they themselves have their own ghost or spirit of some sort that they actually kind of look up to. Or do they? The Fog Mother is probably the most well known because you encounter her on a quest. It's kind of forced if you're going through Far Harbor's main story. The interaction with her is brief and very mysterious. She definitely leaves you with a lasting presence though. She definitely seems to have some kind of advanced abilities, whether it be with the manipulation of the environment and creatures around her, or even just in her appearance. The Children of Adam view the Fog Mother as a saint of their full god Adam. The Fog Mother is one that's particularly interesting though, because there are arguments for her actually not being a proper ghost and maybe even a hoax. If we go the route of just assuming she is a ghost, pretty much everything the Children of Adam tell you is likely true. But alternatively, people have theorized that maybe when you drink that water, you are just hallucinating. Maybe it was poisoned or contaminated in some way, and what you're seeing or perceiving isn't really what's happening. There are similarities in your experience and the Children of Adam's themselves with the Fog Mother, and a certain commonality just exists there. So it would make sense that something is actually happening. But the final and potentially true explanation is actually found if you walk up a third-story building not too far from the nucleus itself. Here you're going to find on a table a bunch of notes written seemingly by someone in the Children of Adam and actually about you, corresponding to other things said by the faction. But even beyond that, you actually get to see stealth boys. Is this the true explanation of the Fog Mother? Is it just somebody or a group of people using stealth boys to fool others into thinking there is really ghosts or the supernatural? Fallout 4 deliberately leaves you without a direct answer, but it definitely is an interesting piece of thought. Obviously, you do have the stealth boy evidence on one hand, but on the other hand, how are the Children of Adam surviving in otherwise unsurvivable conditions? It definitely seems like something is going on to make the radiation affect them differently than the other members of Far Harbor. At first glance, Listening Post Bravo is a very unassuming and fairly familiar location. You've probably seen some of the other bunkers or military bases across Fallout 4's Commonwealth that look just like this. This is mimicked even as you travel down and throughout it. It looks pretty similar to a lot of the other ransacked and mostly destroyed military facilities. When you actually access the terminal, you get an interesting story. It specifically mentioned that a soldier was stationed there alone to actually monitor long-range radio transmissions. Early on, he actually ends up intercepting some pretty strange messages, talking about an internal void, people's dreams getting darker, and even blood so still. Fortunately, he's able to record these, get them on tape, so he sends them over to the better analyst in Washington to try and figure out what exactly he just heard. He goes on to detail how it was taking Washington an oddly long time to get back to him, and he actually started to hear banging on some of the doors, and just getting a strange feeling. He activates the bunker's defense system, which is largely how you find it, but reports having a strange feeling that whatever's going on in the bunker is related to those broadcasts. Finally, Washington gets back to him and says those tapes are blank. There was actually nothing on them. And what they think the explanation is he's actually getting auditory hallucinations for how long he's been trapped in this bunker and in isolation. As you actually get to and find the bunker, the soldier is gone and things are pretty much desolate outside of this terminal. The interesting part about this is the location of this listening post. It's actually only a bit away from DUNWICH Borders, which is another very notable and probably one of the most popular haunted or supernatural locations in Fallout 4. If you've never seen it, it just looks like another raider base, basically a mine or excavation site of some sort that raiders have taken over, and it certainly does have its dark side. But as you progress further and further into the tunnels of this one, you're going to find some very odd events happening, whether it be rocking in the tunnels itself or even just raw hallucinations. The final hallucination shows a group of people worshipping something, and it definitely seems like whatever that soldier was hearing could be connected to this. Maybe the people here were actually calling out to something, whether it be in outer space or just another location, and that's the signals he was intercepting. As you look through what is the deepest part of this location, you find what looks like a massive head that seems to be connected to whatever these people were worshipping, and there's actually more evidence that whatever that soldier was experiencing was true. Right next to the excavation site is a location known as Hugo's Hole. As you do approach it, you actually hear a shot ring out, and as you get closer, you'll see all the various traps that Hugo has set up. As you get to the end, you'll find a body and Hugo's holotape. In that, he'll basically detail how something happened to him. He had urges to return to the quarry, but the guys wouldn't take him back down there. And in the end, the supernatural force or something convinces him to shoot. As we left off with the soldier, he said he felt like something was possessing him. Perhaps it's this exact same being that possessed or influenced Hugo to make the decisions he did. But this is another one of those mysteries that doesn't really have a concrete answer. It definitely seems like the ghost of Listening Post Bravo and the ghost of Dunwich Boars are connected in some way, but how and what exactly is that ghost? The Dunwich company in general has a very long and detailed lore throughout Fallout 3 and now Fallout 4, so I wouldn't be shocked if Bethesda actually continues with this in Fallout 76. It seems like it's very plausible. Then we have what is probably the most obvious instance of a ghost in Fallout 4, that with Lucy Grandchester at the Grandchester Mystery Mansion. The game largely lays this one out for you, but basically as you do approach this mansion, you're going to see a little girl in the window. But then as you do get your ticket, you'll see no girl in the window, seemingly just disappearing. As you progress through the tour itself, you'll find her parents suspected that something possessed this girl. They made attempts at confusing the spirit in hopes of it going away by making staircases that lead to nowhere and even doors that open to nothing. But it seems like in the end, this really didn't do anything. As you go from room to room, you'll hear about more and more serious things that Lucy did, whether it be poisoning her parents' food, leaving her father with permanent damage, or the eventual death of her two parents and how she probably caused it and definitely did with her father. In the end, she's sent to a psychiatric hospital where she's treated, but on her 18th birthday actually escapes back to her home at this mansion. Shortly thereafter, they actually found her dead in the attic. And as you progress your way through this and eventually into the attic region, who do you see other than Lucy going into a door that leads to nowhere? Pretty similar to what her parents were attempting to do to trick the ghost. This one doesn't really have a ton of obscurity. It seems like this is a genuine ghost in Fallout 4. Her parents tried to tame it, put up with it, and even get it removed, but that led to their eventual death. The way this is described, it honestly has a lot of similarities to the experiences Hugo describes at Dunwich Boars and that same ghost. It could be connected, but outside of the descriptions, there's no real evidence that the two are the same. But in the end, I would say this one, more so than anything else, is concrete evidence of ghosts or the supernatural in Fallout 4. And last but certainly not least, we do have the mysterious stranger. Now at first glance, a lot of people might be like, wait, he's not a ghost. And maybe he's not, but there certainly is evidence that he could be. Maybe a good ghost. The mysterious stranger himself is, well, mysterious. It's been in all of the modern Fallout games, but no one really knows his identity, or where he came from, or how he appears and then disappears. Interestingly though, it seems like Nick Valentine does know about him.
That was him, the stranger. He was right here. Where'd he go?
Which seems to indicate that he not only affects you, but potentially other travelers. He is a detective after all, so it would make sense that people that encountered him actually went back and reported it to him. We know Nick has a case file on him, and we actually found out about somebody who's potentially his son in the Honest Hearts DLC for Fallout New Vegas. So it's very likely that the mysterious stranger at one point was a real person, but maybe now, after being killed or taken down in some way, he is a good ghost. He helps out travelers, appears at a glimpse to actually take down their foes. There simply isn't a ton of other explanations for how he does what he does. He's known by Nick Valentine and other people in the world of Fallout, so he obviously helps out other people, not just you exclusively. And even beyond that, even if he is misusing stealth boys, there's no real evidence of that. The way in which he just snaps in and then snaps out, it seems like he could just be a ghost. I wouldn't be surprised if this one in particular we never get a concrete answer to, but either way, the identity of the mysterious stranger has been a long-term mystery in Fallout, and a lot of people have speculated about it. I personally subscribe to the belief that he is in fact just a good ghost. Like Casper. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. I think it's a great time to actually go through and experience some of these quests again, check out some of these notable locations where you do see the supernatural or ghosts in some way. I actually leave tomorrow for the Fallout 76 event, so if you guys do want to see some details or even just some images of what I can show you from that, make sure to follow me on Twitter. I'll have it linked down below. It should be a pretty cool experience. I'm obviously super excited to get to play the game and interview some of the developers. I think all in all, there should be a lot of very cool content coming to this channel in October, including some more spooky stuff, both for Fallout 76 and of course for Fallout 4. I'm not going to stop covering Fallout 4 as soon as this new game comes out. But for today's fun fact of the day, kind of a shorter or a more minor one that's kind of fitting, hallucinations are pretty commonly portrayed in media and in just different movies and stuff like that, and it's often gotten wrong. The most common form of hallucinations, when you actually do have something mentally wrong with you, is auditory hallucinations. Visual hallucinations are immensely rare and typically a factor of outside forces, like chem use. I don't want to say the real word because demonetization. So in a movie, when you see somebody like, oh, I saw this ghost, that's probably not true. A lot of times, and a lot of the real reports of this stuff is solely auditory because that's how people tend to hallucinate. That's not to say visual hallucinations are impossible, they're just very uncommon. Either way, it's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. As always, again, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you all next time.